now I'm going to talk about some tips that I have for the camera. Some things that weren't quite clear to me when I first started using it. The low light modes, there's like 3 different low light modes in this camera. I'll start with automatic slow shutter. What this does is it allows the camera to shoot at a shutter speed of 1/30. The camera will still be taking video at 60 frames a second, but the optics will only be sending an image to it every like 30 times a second. So what that does is it allows more light to hit the sensor before it sends it to be processed. You get an effective 30 frames per second even though the video and the file is running at 60 frames a second. I like to leave that on because it does make a pretty good quality enhancement, and if there's no fast motion happening, if you're not filming sports, then the quality that you gain by enabling this in low light is much better. Okay, so that was auto slow shutter. If we scroll up to scene mode, go down a page, turn on low light mode. What this is, the camera will run at 60 frames a second, the optics are at 60 frames a second, and it will just boost the hell out of the image to make it bright at the expense of quality. You'll see a lot of grain, a lot of snow. You can see it in my demo reel that is in another YouTube video that I have. It will allow you to capture motion, whereas the other modes will not, at least not very well. But like I said, it will be super snowy. But this is by far the highest gain of all the modes, all the different various night scene modes. And then the last night mode is not a scene mode for some reason. It is down here, color night recording mode. When you turn this on, the camera will effectively be shooting at 15 frames per second. The shutter will be open for 1/15 of a second. And the video, like I said again, will still be 60 frames a second. It's kind of like the auto slow shutter where that brings it down to 1/30 of a second exposure, which brings it down to 30 frames per second. But this one goes even farther and doubles the exposure again to 1/15 of a second. Motion will be very blurry, but the textures of things will be very smooth. So quality over speed. It works very well. Turn that off. And you cannot go into automatic mode when this is turned on, so you have to manually turn it off. This color night recording is available in the on-screen menu. If you scroll to the right, it's the last one. It's the little moon with the star. On, off. That's all there is to that. So those are the various night modes or dark modes. There's 3 of them, and they're all very different. Some tips. Once you start recording, if you don't need to see what you're looking at, you can close the viewfinder and leave the eyepiece closed too. The red light will stay on. The camera is still recording even though there's no display on anywhere. So that gives you a little bit extra battery life because it doesn't have to power any of those displays. You can stop recording with the button, or you can switch the dial to play and then the camera will turn off. But if you open it back up, the camera's still recording. I find that useful when I'm doing time lapses and want my battery to last extra long. As you can see, I have a different battery here. This is a third-party battery. It lasts about 4 times longer than the one that comes with it. The battery was only about $50 on the internet. I'm sure if you do enough searching you can find it. This one is compatible with the battery interface, so I get an estimate of how much longer I can record. A lot of the really cheap cheap batteries that you'll see just supply power to the camera. It doesn't there's like no communication happening between the camera and the battery, so the camera has no idea how much energy is left. Another tip is the focus does not change when you zoom in and out. So when you're manually focusing on a static object, you can zoom in, focus manually, set the focus to manual, and then zoom out, and it'll stay focused. So then you can get an accurate focus at a distance. A tip for if you're going to be recording live music, by default the microphone will adjust the gain automatically, so if things get quiet, it'll turn the gain up, and then things get loud, it turns the gain down. That's great when you want to capture people talking and the environment keeps changing. But if you want music, you want the range of the music to be the same as it's played. You don't want like the quiet parts to be amplified and the loud parts to be muffled. You want it all to be like as it's meant to be heard. And so in order to do that, so I'll have to go into the regular menu, record setup, go down to mic setup. I have found that the quality of surround is much better than stereo or zoom if you're recording music, so always leave it set to surround if you're recording music. Mic level, if we do set plus automatic gain control, what I do is I adjust this to the point where the loudest music that's being played does not redline anything. If it's incredibly loud music, it's probably going to be like maybe down to like negative 24 decibels. If you turn off automatic gain compensation, then anything that goes past red will clip and you'll get the pop. If you turn on automatic gain compensation, it will prevent anything from clipping. It'll still dampen all the sound by negative 24 decibels, but it will prevent it from clipping, so I would leave that on. The problem with this is once you're recording, you can't adjust the volume compensation. You have to stop recording, go back into the menu, play with these values, and then start recording again. As you see, it shows you the gain that every single mic is picking up. Oh no, my battery's dying. My last tip is when you're going to shoot a time lapse, you want to use manual white balance, because as the day moves on, the texture of the sky, all that stuff will change, over time. And if you're in automatic white balance, it's kind of disturbing when it switches modes automatically. Like it'll switch from like blue to purple or something like that. So lock the white balance so that you don't get all these varying jumps in colors as the day progresses. You might want to turn off optical image stabilization so that the image doesn't drift over time. Like, I don't know how stable the image is in OIS when OIS is enabled. I don't know like if the tilt shift lenses stay centered pretty well or not, but if you turn it off, you'll be safe. And if you really want like a consistent image, you would lock the focus and the exposure and the shutter. But then as it gets dark, you're not going to get the sun. You're not going to get anything after the sunset, things like that. So experiment with it. That's it.